Good morning and welcome to the special council meeting, the special budget meeting for Ipswich City Council on the 24th of June 2021. It's now 9 a.m. We'll commence with attendance. In attendance in the chambers we have Councillor Ireland, Councillor Tully, Councillor Johnnick, Councillor Fechner, Councillor Milligan. We also have Councillor Kunzelman and Councillor Doyle who have dialed in. If I could just get you to say aye if you're here.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. I have an apology. Councillor Madsen has been delayed a little bit, so he will be here soon, but I would like to record that apology for Councillor Madsen. For Councillors Doyle and Kunzelman to proceed, I'll just move a motion. They've requested attendance via an audio link, which we have done in the past, in line with section 254K of the Local Government Regulations and 862 of Council's Meeting Procedures Policy. As a councillor must attend a meeting of council in person unless a resolution is passed that the council be allowed to take part in the meeting by audio link. So I will move that. Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Milligan. Any discussion on the matter? No, I'll put that motion to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. And I can just see around the room that Councillor Ireland, Councillor Tully, Councillor Johnnick, Councillor Fechner and Millie and myself have voted for that. Thank you. We'll now move on to the acknowledgement of country. Councillor Fechner, would you like to lead an acknowledgement? Thank you.
Ipswich City Council respectfully acknowledges the traditional owners as custodians of the land and waters we share. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging, as the keepers of the traditions, customs, cultures and stories of a proud people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Fechner. We now move on to the opening prayer, and Councillor Tully, would you like to lead us into prayer?
Thank you, Mayor. Heavenly Father, grant that we can seek to serve you in the affairs of this council.
Oh.
Thank you, Mayor. Heavenly Father, grant that we who seek to serve you in the affairs of this council may have wisdom in our deliberations, the guiding of your hand in our works, and the grace to serve together to advance the prosperity of our city. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Councillor Tully. Apologies, we have Councillor Madsen's apology and no leaves of absences. We'll now move on to declarations of interest in the matters on the agenda. Are there any? I think, Councillor Tully, do you have one on one of the ratings? No? No? Okay. Okay. Councillor Ireland, would you microphone on, please?
I don't understand that I have a conflict of interest, but I have declared it in an email in that I did, for 12 months, become a paid-up member of the CWA, never attended a meeting, and it was only for the 12 months to help them with numbers. But it's up to the other councillors on whether or not they think I have a conflict.
Right. Were you an office bearer, Councillor Ireland?
No, just paid up.
So the legislation's quite clear, unless you're an office bearer.
Yep.
Yep. Thank you very much, Councillor. If there's no conflicts of interest, we'll now move on to the main game, which is the budget. And as we go into the budget, I'd just like to speak to it. My fellow councillors, Acting CEO, residents and ratepayers of Ipswich, it is my honour to table the Ipswich City Council 2021-22 budget and annual plan on behalf of this council. Today is an important day for Ipswich, not just for now but for our future. When you elected your new Ipswich City Council just over a year ago, we were well aware of the significant challenges that were facing our community. Amidst an unprecedented global pandemic, we all promised to undo years of financial neglect of previous administrations. We undertook the task of leading Ipswich out of its tumultuous past and into a new era of good governance, financial management and a focus on our community. We committed to giving you the local government that you can rely on. As we've negotiated our way through the worst of COVID-19, Ipswich City Council has been there every step of the way for those hardest hit by the pandemic. Over the past 15 months, we've distributed more than $1.2 million in COVID relief directly to small businesses, sporting groups, artists and community organisations to see them through a tough 2020. We're righting the wrongs of the past by establishing Ipswich City Council as a leader in Australia for transparency and openness. From the Transparency Integrity Hub, which gives residents unprecedented access to the way council spends your money, to live streaming council meetings and publishing agendas and minutes, and publishing our 3-year capital works program for public scrutiny, so you can hold us to account. We are the council that has brought the Nicholas Street precinct back on track, and we will see our new administration building, 1 Nicholas Street, open to the public on Monday, 3 months ahead of schedule. We've also taken strong action in Ipswich City Council's war on waste through the delivery of the Waste and Circular Economy Transformation Directive. We're putting residents first as we face private waste operators head-on, driving industry best practice, promoting a strong compliance culture, and ensuring we're minimising the negative impacts of waste on our community. But our job is far from done. Today, our city is home to more than 230,000 residents. By 2041, the city will swell by another 330 residents, more than doubling our population in the coming decades. We are Queensland's fastest growing city. The growth we are experiencing presents both challenges and opportunities for Ipswich City Council. It requires strategic investment to ensure our city can grow sustainably in the future. And so today, we adopt the Ipswich City Council budget for 2021-22. It's a budget that considers the challenges of today while planning for the opportunity that our city's growth will bring in the coming decades. Specifically, Council's investing heavily in the infrastructure that connects our city and keeps our economy moving. This is driven by a significant investment of $54.5 million to maintain, upgrade and continue to expand our road network. This investment is not just in our new and growing areas of Ipswich, but will also ensure our established suburbs continue to flourish. This includes the rollout of a $22 million 3-year curb and channel program, which is set to revitalise streets across Ipswich, a commitment that represents a 69% boost compared to the 2 previous years' average spend. It also sets aside a $4.6 billion boost to upgrade and maintain our rural roads, a 40% increase on the past year's expenditure. This investment will ensure, as our city grows, we will grow together. To better prepare for growth, we are also fast-tracking our major work schedule, including some of the biggest road projects in council history. $7.5 million for Redbank Plains Road and $12.8 million for the duplication and upgrade of the Springfield Parkway and Springfield Greenbank Arterial. Council is also committed to fighting for the transport investment we need from other levels of government to protect the livability of Ipswich. The Ipswich to Springfield Central public transport corridor will link our booming suburbs from Springfield Central through Redbank Plains, Ripley, Deebing Heights, Yamanto and Ipswich to ensure our residents have access to jobs, education and services. Council has committed a one-off $500,000 for the options analysis for the Ipswich to Springfield, or the I2S, project, an overall cost of $2.5 million. With an additional $1 million on the table from the state government, we'll continue to advocate for the necessary investment from the Commonwealth to advance this vital project. Your new council is also taking action to protect one of our greatest assets, our environment, with significant steps in this year's budget and beyond to ensure our beautiful green spaces and waterways are secured for future generations. This includes a significant $11 million investment in parks, sport and the environment to ensure we protect the livability and lifestyle we enjoy today and for our residents of the future. Council has also taken the bold step to increase its EnviroPlan levy from $46 to $51 annually, creating an additional $420,000 for Ipswich's environmental assets. This will see almost $1.3 million invested back into our prized and pristine conservation estates, such as White Rock Spring Mountain, Mount Grandchester and the Flinders Goulman Conservation Estates. Council is also committed to getting back to basics and are ensuring we're delivering a city our residents enjoy and are proud to call their own. From an increased investment in mowing of $500,000, $3.9 million to manage our local sporting fields, $1.1 million to expedite pothole repair, and $3.3 million to maintain our 5 swim centres and popular Orion Lagoon. As you've seen from the federal and state budgets, as well as our neighbouring councils across the region, Financially, times continue to be tough. With this in mind, your new council has spent many months debating and shaping the $532 million budget we hand down today. For the first time in a long time, we have a clear and strategic plan for our city's future. The 2021-22 annual plan, in conjunction with iFuture, our new 5-year corporate plan, and 20-year community vision, is guiding our council's decision-making in a collaborative, open and transparent way. iFuture is built on feedback on what matters to the community. The project brought together diverse voices of our communities, with 18,000 residents given the opportunity to shape our city's future. Through good governance and long-term planning, we have limited the rate rise for Ipswich residents to one of the lowest in South East Queensland at just 2.75%. This represents an additional cost of 94 cents per week for the average rates bill. While we understand that any rate rise will be felt by residents, Council believes it has found a balance between limiting the financial impact while ensuring we're investing in Ipswich's future. Council's 2021-22 budget is the second from this council. It is strong and strategic, and one that we can give the community considerable optimism about the future of Ipswich. When this council was sworn in April 2020, the community told us loud and clear that they wanted their council to listen to them. That is our commitment, to listen to our community, to operate in an open, transparent and honest way, and deliver a council that you can rely on. Leading our council is a significant responsibility. It's not one this council takes lightly. We recognise that every cent of ratepayers' funds must represent an investment in a better future. Today, council is delivering on its commitment to invest in a bright and prosperous future for the city of Ipswich. Thank you. I'll now move on to item 6.1, which is the adoption of the 2021-22 budget and associated matters. This paper has 22 recommendations, A through to V, which we've all worked on as part of our budget. I propose that we move A through to V together. I won't read them all out, it's many pages, and we've had this since Friday and previously. And I move these recommendations A through to V. Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Fechner. And now, would anyone like to speak to the relevant council officer? And I note Councillor Madson's presence in the chamber. Thank you. We're at item 6.1. Does anyone like to ask the relevant? Would anyone like to ask the relevant council officer any questions? No. Any discussion? No. I'll put the matter.
Sorry,
yes, sir.
I have an amendment I'd like to move,
Sure.
which I will forward to the committee.
I'll put,
Have an amendment, Mayor, that I'd like to move, which I'll forward to the committee clerk, that the following words be added after paragraph V. W, that's the number of the proposed paragraph. W, that the Ipswich City Council, having considered the current financial challenges being experienced both by council and our communities as a result of ongoing significant events including the COVID-19 pandemic, resolve as follows. A, that in accordance with section 247 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, Council decides that the maximum amount of remuneration for the Mayor, Deputy Mayor and Councillors awarded to all Level 6 councillors for 21-22, as approved by the Local Government Remuneration Commission, is not payable. B, that Council decide that the amount of remuneration payable to the Mayor, Deputy Mayor and Councillors for 21-22 be the current financial year rate as detailed below. Mayor, $204,036, Deputy Mayor $138,745 and Councillor $122,421.
thank you for that amendment. Just write that down. So I note that Councillor Fechner wish to agree with that. You and I as the mover and the seconder. More than happy wholeheartedly. Thank you. Thank you. So that has been added as recommendation W. Would anyone like to have any discussion? Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Tolley.
Very briefly, similar to the motion, close to identical to the motion last year. Of course, the circumstances haven't changed. In some ways, people would say that with... It's very similar in wording to the corresponding motion in June of last year. Some people would say things haven't changed. In some ways, they've got worse. For example, Job Seeker, the supplement has been reduced from $550 to $250 per fortnight. JobKeeper finished at the end of March. Many people in Ipswich are still hurting. I think we can set an example. Interestingly enough, the Remuneration Commission didn't increase the amount in their recommendation from the previous year. And it's curious the way in which they operate. What we operated on last year was not to accept the increase which was proposed in December 2019 to come into effect on the 1st of July 2020. Now, the recommendation in December just gone, 2020, to come into effect on the 1st of July was that there'd be no increase this financial year. Puts us in an unusual situation, but I think it's the opportunity. It's not a big increase, but it probably sets a good example to the community that we're a council that's prepared to follow on from last year, given that the issues relating to the pandemic and the financial issues for many of our residents are unchanged.
Any other discussion? My other thing is to note the fact that obviously we didn't take a pay rise last year, and I think when this was discussed during budget workshops, I know Councillor told that this, you didn't raise that. And I think it would have been a good time for you to raise that then. But I think there will be myself as the mover and the seconder wholeheartedly support this recommendation. I'll put the motion to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand, and I'll ask Councillor Kunzelman and Councillor Doyle if you would like to say aye. Around the room, everyone has put their hand up. Councillor Kunzelman, Councillor Doyle, how would you like to vote?
Aye.
That's Councillor Doyle. Councillor Kunzelman?
Councillor Kunzelman, aye.
Aye, thank you. Can I just get confirmation, Harrison, that was both councillors? Yep, thank you very much. So it's passed unanimously. Thank you. We now move on to item 6.2. Which is the Ipswich City Council Annual Plan, including the operational plan. And that recommendation is that in accordance with Section 1045A of the Local Government Act 2009 and Sections 174 and 175 of the Local Government Regulations 2012, Ipswich City Council adopted the Annual Plan 2021-2022, which includes the Annual Operational Plan 2021-2022 on pages 20 to 28, in brackets the Annual Operational Plan, and the Ipswich Waste Services Performance Plan on 2021-2022 on pages 87 through to 93, the Annual Performance Plan for a Commercial Business Unit, but excluding the City Annual Budget 2021-2022 on pages 94 to 159 as detailed in Attachment 2 to the report by the Corporate Planning Performance Officer dated the 17th of June, and Recommendation B, that Recommendation A is compatible with the human rights and relevant human rights have been given proper consideration in accordance with the Human Rights Act. May I have a mover for that, Councillor Fechner? A seconder? Thank you, Councillor Megan. Thank you very much. I note that this is a report concerning the adoption of the proposed Ipswich City Council Annual Plan for 2021, and this annual plan is a first for Ipswich City Council and forms part of our approach to increase good governance, transparency and integrity. The annual plan for 2021-22 financial year comprises supplementary sub-documents. It has an operational plan, a capital works program, core business services, Ipswich Waste Service Performance Plan, and the annual budget. The report and recommendations also meet our legislative obligations to adopt an annual operational plan and annual performance plan for any commercial business unit prescribed by state government legislation, noting that the adoption of the annual budget by council is done by a separate report. Would anyone like to speak to the relevant council officer on this? Councillor, no? Okay. No, in that case, I'll open up for discussion. Councillor Ireland?
Thank you, Mayor. I do thank all the councillors for the money that is being put towards rural roads, but as you know, I'm passionate about it. Ipswich City Council inherited Moreton Shire in 1995, so that's 26 years ago. with numerous rural roads.
So, excuse me, councillor, which part of the, this,
I'm talking to the capital works
Let's-
side of it,
okay,
so
thank
that
you.
capital expenditure.
thank you.
So there's still much work to do, but we can always do more. Excuse me. If a rural road policy was adopted, such as one unmade road to maintain standard each 4-year term, it would still take over 100 years to complete all the unmade roads. I am aware that sparse voter numbers do not help my cause. Some properties have been in the same family for decades. I seek equity for all residents of Ipswich, and I will continue to look for a policy to have unmade roads, one road, each 4-year term brought up to a maintained standard. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Ireland. Any other comment?
Yeah, through you, Mayor, I'd like to speak to the adoption, and as the mover, I wholeheartedly support the adoption of the annual plan. As community leaders, it's really important that we strike that balance, and that's our job each day that we come together to, work out what our vision for the city actually is. And, a keen focus on equity is something that is very close to my heart as part of all of these discussions. We represent the whole city, and as divisional councillors, we're the conduit to those people that we represent, those voters. So we plug into the hearts and minds of those that we represent. So for me, it's from, Leichhardt 1 Mile down to Collingwood Park. And, in the budget that we just unanimously adopted, I think there are some really, really good outcomes for Division 3. And I know that Councillor Doyle will agree with me there. It's quite easy to, on budget day, focus on the hard infrastructure, that important work that needs to be done and will continue to do so. But I think that the publication of the annual report is, a first for us, a really great way for people to understand all the extras that we do. It's roads, rates, rubbish, and absolutely so much more. And we should be really proud of all of the other things that we deliver as an organisation. We drive to work, we're very car dependent, within our city, and we're very aware of that. And, these are the things that we encounter every day, but I think it's important to shine the spotlight on all of the operations of council to really celebrate, the work that goes on, particularly in places like community development, when we're concerned with the social fabric of our city and, how we plan to develop that and engage more people. As the committee chair for Community Culture, Arts and Sport, it was actually very heartening to see that this year when we were working on the new community development strategy, how easy it actually is to engage our wonderful residents. We've got so many volunteers out there. We've got so many people wanting to contribute to our beautiful city, and they made it so easy to contact them because we allowed them to from a policy position that we implemented. So I'm really proud of all of the work that we do outside of the hard infrastructure. We put on some cracker events every year, and we're reinvesting in that next year. And that's, not just for the people of our city, but it's getting outside interest into our city as well. And I think that, there's an important conversation to be had, and we should really be celebrating the fact that Ipswich City Council has a department manager whose title is Community and Economic Development Manager. And I think that it's really important to acknowledge that those two things come together to drive investment in our city, but to actually make it so much more livable for our wonderful residents that we represent. So publishing this annual report gives keen insight into all of the things that council does, and it's not just the roads, rates and rubbish, and there are key deliverables in there. So we become more accountable. We're publishing more than we ever have, and we should absolutely be so proud of that. So I wholeheartedly support the adoption of this annual plan that so many people have spent hundreds of hours working on within the organisation. I congratulate everyone who's had anything to do with this over the last year. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Fechner. Anyone else? I just to to leverage off what you've spoken about, Councillor Ireland, I commend yourself, Councillor Madsen, Councillor Kunzman, Councillor Milligan. The four of you have been very passionate about rural roads, and I think we have our rural roads policy coming to this council next month. And I think without the four of you pushing so hard, we've boosted our budget by 40% from last year. And so I think that shows, and same with the curb and channelling. We've also had, Division 3 councillors really pushing, making sure that that all residents are heard. Obviously, the massive infrastructure, the roads from Redbank Plains, the $7.5 million in that road to the 12.8 for Springfield Greenbank Arterial means that we are being, I think, equitable, and I hope that the residents will see that. Yeah, Councillor Ireland.
May I just add to your comments? I do agree that there's been great work done, but as you know, I'm passionate about trying to address that unmade road policy. I thank all the officers for the work they have done. I'm very grateful for the money that Division 1 has received, but I won't rest until we get that policy in place that we are going to upgrade one road every term. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ireland. If there's no other discussion, I'll put recommendations A and B to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. You're not. Okay. So looking around the room, it's myself raising their hands. So it's Councillor Milligan, Councillor Fichtner, Councillor Madsen, Councillor Johnnick. I'll just diverge to Councillor Doyle and Councillor Kunzelman. Councillor Doyle, are you in favour or not?
Councillor Doyle confirming in favour.
Thank you. Councillor Kunzelman?
In favour.
Thank you. So there's 7 in favour. Those against? There being no against. Those abstaining? Okay, there's 2 abstentions, Councillor Ireland and Councillor Tully. Thank you very much. And before I move on, I just want to point out that the core business services that's in this plan, from page 29 onwards, is something new, and I don't think many councils do this, but we break down our organisation into about 30 different parts. We say how many staff are there and how much they're spending and what programs they're working on. I'll encourage residents to read through that. It's a big step forward from a transparency perspective, and would gratefully love to hear feedback from people on how we've decided to spend the money that you pay us in rates, fees and charges. Moving on to item 6.3. Which is the overall plan for the Rural Fire Resources Levy Charge. So this is a report concerning the adoption of the overall plan for the Rural Fire Resources Levy Special Charge. The overall plan is made in accordance with Section 94 of the Local Government Regulation 2012 for the special benefited area adopted by Council in 2021-2022. We have 2 recommendations, so I propose that we move these together. Recommendation A, that in accordance with Section 94 of the Local Government Regulations 2012, the overall plan for the Rural Fire Resources Levy Special Charge as detailed in the report dated the 16th of June 2021 be adopted. And B, recommendation A is compatible with the human rights and relevant human rights have been given proper consideration in accordance with the Human Rights Act. May I have a mover for that, please? Thank you, Councillor Milligan. May I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Fichtner. Would anyone like to speak to the relevant council officer on this item? No? I'll leave this open for discussion. There being no discussion, I put recommendations A and B to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. And around the room, I have all the hands are raised. I will then speak to Councillor Doyle. Are you a yay?
I confirm, Mayor.
Confirm, yes. Councillor Kunzelman?
I confirm.
Thank you very much. So it's unanimous and carried. Thank you. 6.4 is the rates timetable for 2021-2022. And this is a report concerning the assurance dates as well as the discount and due dates for payment of the quarterly rates for 2021-2022. And the first recommendation is that in accordance with Section 118 of the Local Government Regulations 2012, Ipswich City Council decide the dates by which rates and charges for 2021-2022 must be paid, as detailed in Table 1 in the report. And recommendation B is that recommendation A is compatible with the Human Rights Act. May I have I'll move that. May I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Fichtner. Would anyone like to speak to the relevant council officer on this item? No, I'll open the matter up for discussion. There being no discussion, I'll put both A and B to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. And in the room, all 7 councillors have their hand up. I'll now refer to Councillor Doyle. Are you a yay?
I confirm yes, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Kunzelman?
I confirm, Mayor.
Thank you. It's unanimous and carried. We'll now move on to item 6.5.
Point of order, Mayor.
Yes.
I'd like to declare a conflict. I was late due to some personal circumstances I won't go into.
Yep. So you have
Is that
a
right?
conflict of interest? Yep, if you'd like to.
In accordance with Section 150 EM of the Local Government Act 2009, I, Councillor Jacob Madsen, inform the meeting that I have a prescribed conflict of interest in item 6.5 recommendation C, titled Rates, Concessions, Charitable Non-Profit Sporting Organisations. The nature of the prescribed conflict of interest is I'm on the executive of the Ipswich Trades Hall and Labor Day Committee.
Thank you very much, Councillor Madsen. So that will be attachment 3, I think, when we do it. I think, Councillor Tully, are you going to do a...
Yes, I thought we were looking separately rather than
That's okay.
possibly do together, but
I think yours is attachment 4, I think.
yeah,
isn't
I've
it?
got that one.
Just for clarity, my
Yeah.
conflict's only with recommendation C.
I think recommendation B, I think, is it? Attachment 3?
Attachment 3, so recommendation B.
B, yeah. Thank you.
Which is, yeah, that's great that they don't align.
Mayor, yeah, I'll declare and I have declared this previously, but I will again, in accordance with Section 150 EQ of the Local Government 2009, I inform the meeting that I have a declarable conflict of interest in attachment, the 4 matters specified in attachment 4. And I'll go through those individually because the interests, if they do exist, are quite separate. In relation to the first one, the Goodna District Rugby League Club, I was president of that organisation 2 years ago. In relation to the Goodna Bowls Club, I was made a honorary life member some 20 years ago. In relation to the Westmorton Migrant Resource Service, matters are referred from time to time in relation to migration, visa and citizenship issues. To me as a non-fee charging migration agent, I've never received and I can't receive any benefit from that, financial or otherwise. The property at Salvation Army, 27 Smiths Road, Goodna, my wife works for a, not that entity, but an associated entity that's not directly related to that particular operation of that property. I think previously, Mayor, I've declared that, I've indicated that I won't vote in relation to those matters if that's satisfactory to the other councillors.
Okay. Thank you very much, Councillor Tully. So that's, so you'll leave the room for recommendation C, which is attachment 4.
Oh, well, that's up to the other councillors if they... I said I didn't propose to vote, to
Yes,
stay,
you will
not
leave.
partake in the meeting and not vote, not partake in the discussion and not vote.
Yes. Okay. Can I just ask one question? For the Salvation Army one, you said your wife is with an associated entity but not related to it, so I'm kind of a bit confused.
Oh, well, the
I just
Salvation
wonder if it's a
Army,
prescribed or just... or
the
a-
Salvation Army has a number of, many facets of what it does. This is a shop,
Yeah.
basically, and she has no connection with that whatsoever. I doubt if she's ever been there.
Does she work for the Salvation Army? Or?
It's one of their entities,
Right.
but not related to their commercial type activities.
May I just check with the CEO, just that if it's an employer of of your wife's, maybe it's a prescribed conflict as opposed to a declarable?
Just a point of clarification, if I may, Mayor. I think Councillor Tully has indicated that he won't take part in it anyway, so that probably
Yeah.
supersedes any discussion we might have
Yep.
around the conflict.
Yep. Thank you.
We're going to move on, Mayor.
Yes, I'll move on.
We just, we may want to clarify, Councillor Madsen may have indicated a prescribed
Yes.
conflict of interest, and that has been recorded. But our advice would be that it's a declarable conflict of interest. Would you agree with that, Councillor?
I mean, typically, when I declare matters involving the mighty Ipswich Trades Hall, that's related to something I would consider declarable, but in this interest, it's a direct financial benefit to an entity that I'm on the executive of. My understanding is that would be prescribed.
You're intending to leave the room voluntarily, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so.
That
that's
okay?
fine. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other declarations of interest? No. Thank you very much, Councillor Mads and Councillor Tully. Very important that interests are declared, and I appreciate your openness with these. Moving on, so we'll do, noting the conflicts of interest, we'll do each recommendation one at a time. So I move that recommendation A, that having satisfied the criteria of section 120 of the Local Government Regulations 2012, as well as the rates concession policy, the properties as detailed in attachment 2 to the report by the acting CFO dated the 18th of June 21 be granted a 100% concession of the differential general rates for 2021-2022 financial year. I will move that. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Ireland. Thank you very much. Would anyone like to speak to the relevant council officer on this? No? Any discussion? No, I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour of recommendation A, please raise your hand. In the room, all 7 councillors have their hand up. Councillor Doyle, are you a yay or a nay?
Confirm, Mayor.
Confirm, yes.
Yes.
Councillor,
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Kunzelman.
Yes, confirmed.
Thank you very much. That's unanimous and passed. We'll move on to recommendation B. So, Councillor Menz, are you staying in the room or you're leaving? It's up to.
It's a prescribed conflict of interest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Madsen. We now move on to attachment 3 in the report for recommendation B. I'll move that recommendation. Do I have a seconder for that recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Johnick. Thank you. Would anyone like to be the relevant council officer on this? No? Any discussion? No? I'll put that matter to the vote. Please raise your hand if you're in agreement. We have all 6 councillors in the chambers voting to support that. Councillor Doyle, what is your vote?
Confirmed, Mayor. I'm in agreement.
Thank you. Councillor Kunzelman?
Confirmed, Mayor. I agree.
Thank you very much, Councillor Kunzelman. It's unanimous knowing that Councillor Madsen's not in the room and passed. I'll just now wait for Councillor Madsen to come back in. I think Councillor Tully, you'll stay in for this one. Is that correct? Thank you very much. We'll move on now to recommendation C, which is now looking at attachment 4, and I will move that. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Thank you, Councillor Ireland. Would anyone like to speak to the relevant council officer on this item? No? Any discussion? No? I'll put the matter to the vote for recommendation C. You know that Councillor Tully is not voting on this. Please raise your hand if you support it. Around in the chambers, we have all 6 councillors with their hand up. Councillor Doyle, which way do you vote?
Confirmed, Mayor. Agree.
Thank you. Councillor Kunzelman? Councillor Kunzelman, which way do you vote for recommendation C?
Sorry, agreed.
Thank you very much. So that is passed. Thank you very much. We're now on to recommendation D. that recommendations A, B and C are compatible with human rights and the relevant human rights, having given proper consideration in accordance with the Human Rights Act. I'll move that. I should have done that with item A. Move that. May I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Milligan. Any discussion? Yes, Councillor?
I'll just declare that for the reasons I stated before, recommendation D, I'll be abstaining, simply because that does relate to paragraph C previously, and I don't want it suggested that I was agreeing that the human rights hadn't been infringed, so I propose to abstain just for that reason.
Okay. I might just refer to the CEO. Is it necessary to have that particular one there? We may decide not to proceed.
We'll keep it.
We'll keep it? Yep, no worries. Okay, thank you. Any other discussion?
Well, I think similarly with Councillor Tully, I too will abstain.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'll put the matter to the vote. Those in favour of recommendation D, please raise your hand. And around the room, it's myself, Councillor Owen, Councillor Johnny, Councillor Fetner, Councillor Milligan. Councillor Doyle, how do you vote?
Confirmed, I'm in favour, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Kunzelman?
In favour, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Votes against? There being none. Abstain? Councillor Tully and Councillor Madsen abstain. Thank you. That is the last item for this particular meeting. I'll draw the meeting to a close.
Mayor, I'd just like to move a procedural motion to move outside of the current standing order of business, just to offer up a vote of thanks, if I may. So I think
I'll support that. Those who would support that procedural motion by Councillor Fechner. I'll look around the room. All six have their hand up. Councillor Doyle, do you support Councillor Fechner moving a notice of thanks?
Yes, confirmed, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kunzelman.
Yes, confirmed, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do
So
we-
I'd just like to formally move the sentiment, just acknowledging my colleagues around the table here, my fellow councillors, and those joining us remotely, for all of the hard work and many hours that we put into the consideration of this year's budget. We have spent substantially more time than last year working on this, and we've come together and we've had some really great discussions about what our vision looks like for the city. So firstly, we'd like to thank my fellow councillors and the Mayor for the effort that we've all put in as a team collective to really put our residents at the front of the mind of the organisation and to really capture the way that we truly wish to represent them. Secondly, I would like to thank the organisation, with particular mention to Treasury, who the working very, very hard, long hours, after hours, in the lead up to the delivery of this budget. I think it's important to recognise the human element of the organisation and the work that goes into that. Performance and coordination, putting together this annual plan, should be very proud. And I just want to acknowledge that this, although led by the Mayor and councillors with our vision and what we want to see moving forward next year for the budget for our city, we were very well supported by the organisation in the process leading up to and into the delivery of today. So everyone should be very proud, and I thank everyone for their efforts.
Thank you very much, Councillor Fechner. It was lovely to hear. Anyone else like to speak to that? No. Thank you very much. I'll now draw the meeting to a close at 9:44.
Are we going to vote on that motion?
Oh, my apologies. My apologies. I won't close the meeting. So you've done the vote of thanks. Would anyone like to second Councillor Fechner's vote of thanks? Councillor Milligan. Thank you. Any other discussion on that? No. And those in favour, please raise your hand. I look around the room. All 7 councillors have their hand up. Councillor Doyle, which way do you vote?
In favour, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Kunzelman? Councillor Kunzelman?
Absolutely in favour, and echo the comments of Councillor Fechner.
Thank you very much, Councillor Kunzelman. It's unanimous and carried. Let's do a round of applause for the staff. Thank you. Thank you very much. I now draw the meeting to a close at 9:45. Thank you very much. We now have our ordinary council meeting at 1 p.m. Thank you.